Grant and I worked very deliberately on our relationship from the start. We had both been through so many unhealthy attachments, we were determined to get it right this time. So determined that only 6 months into our relationship, we started therapy together. We used to do this thing called mirroring, which is basically repeating what the other has said to make sure you're listening empathically. It can be quite effective. We tried it on all sorts of issues, from my fears of abandonment to Grant's 10-hour video game sessions, to his eating packs and packs of Little Debbie's and drinking 4 liters of Mountain Dew a day. And that was all he put in his body, no kidding. It was a pretty good strategy for communicating, and it usually worked for us. But sometimes it could go seriously awry, like the time he forgot to pick me up from the airport. That one went a little like this. When I flew all the way out from San Francisco to visit you in Illinois, I was really excited to see you, and I was bummed when you weren't at the terminal. So what you're saying is, you were looking forward to seeing me after your flight. Yes. And when I went to the carousel to retrieve my luggage, and I still didn't see you, I got worried that something might have happened to you. So what you're saying is, you thought I might have had an accident. Yes. And when I was standing at the curb, watching cars drive up and drive away with other passengers that had been on the flight with me, and I was the last one standing, I thought I better call. And that's when I found out that you forgot to pick me up because you were too busy playing your video game. And I felt really abandoned and more than a little devalued. I said I was sorry. What more do you want? No, that's not mirroring. Okay, you're right. So, what you're saying is that it's my fault, isn't it? That's what you're saying, isn't it? Admit it! And I suddenly had a vision of my mother coming out to rural Illinois, unplugging the computer, yanking the silver tray of Little Debbie's and Mountain Dew out of my hand, and whisking me off to a deprogramming center for spouses of the video addicted. The things that man did to her I will never understand. Honestly, Rachel, I don't know why your mother couldn't have married a nice Jewish man. When I first saw you, and your brothers are out of control and they don't have any shoes on, and there's broken glass and nails and all sorts of things you could have stepped on. Your brother David, Mustafa, whatever his name was, his teeth were rotting. Your father, the schmuck, didn't allow any dentists or doctors. Oy vey. He caused us such grief. That was a cult he had her in. He had her brainwashed with that schmata on her head. Your Grandpa Bill and I were worried sick. We just had to do something to get her away from that man and, reprogram her. Do you realize what all could have happened to you? Is the soup hot enough for you? You want some more, doll baby? It isn't until my life is threatened that I even consider escape. Up to now, I was determined that I'm not leaving until we can all leave together as a family. And I hold on to that ideal until the day Conrad beats me. It's 1979, and we're living in a shack that doesn't have any furniture when I find out about her. Conrad's out shooting dinner. I don't know what he's shooting, and when he returns, I ask him, "Can we please talk about this? Could you please explain this to me?" Conrad, or Hakim, turns around and starts beating me with his gun. I'm holding you in my arms, and your brothers are standing nearby, wide-eyed, pleading with him to stop. He just keeps hitting me, yelling, "How could you do this to us? How could you do this to the children? I'm so sick of your disobedience." I don't cry or anything. I just pick myself up off the floor and make peanut butter sandwiches while he drives off. Now I know Conrad would sooner kill me than let me get away with my children. I know that I have to get out while I can still walk away and before I have to be carried off. I know the marriage is finally over. At the mental hospital, in between my time spent counting clocks, I'd line up for meds. I was on a regimen of antidepressants, anti-anxiety, painkillers, and sleeping pills, each one doping me up or down in its own special way. So it's my turn to pick up the little paper cup and toss the cocktail back, when I look and see that there's a new pill, a little green triangle pill. What's this? Honey? This little green pill in my cup. Well, that's your antipsychotic pill, Miss Archuletta. I don't take an antipsychotic pill. Well, sure you do. Let's try and remember, shall we? No, I don't think that I do. Let's not get agitated, dear. Just take your medicine. But I think there's a mistake. Are we going to have to talk to Dr. Ross about this? And as this interaction is taking place, I'm getting more and more worked up and more agitated until I go into a full-blown panic attack. Dr. Ross has to come on the ward until the nurse finally looks at my chart and says, "Whoops, I think we got your medication mixed up with someone else's. Let's try this again, shall we?" And all I can think to say is, "I think I need that anti-psycho pill after all." But a rush of recognition overtakes me, and I finally see myself for who I really am for the first time since my admission. I'm confused and troubled, yes, but basically sane. But they're having trouble believing me because at this point I'm practically screaming it, and the whole ward has descended upon me, and I'm placed in restraints. After I had gathered myself, I was able to tell them, rationally and honestly, I am okay. I truly am okay. Of course, just saying that doesn't unlock the gates, but I was now in a position to sensibly assess my treatment plan. While I was due to be released at the end of the week, the doctors and I decided that 3 extra days in the hospital would ensure against readmission in the future. So far, our plan has worked. Here we are on the edge of the desert. No transportation, just all these cacti around. There are these jumping cholla that when you walk by them, leap at your ankles. The cholla are a surreal reminder of my confinement. I have no car, no money, no clothes, no other family. The letter I had been forced to write renouncing on my parents weighs heavily on me. Conrad and Abdul Qadir had stood over my shoulder, dictating while I wrote those horrible words. I'm panicked. My parents could never forgive me. It really doesn't matter where I go. This drive to get out and leave the insanity behind is so urgent I can't refuse it. Then we get evicted. Conrad tells me he has no money to house us.
It has been 10 years, and I finally see the chance to go home to Mendocino. I remember the day I leave him really well because it's the first time he takes me out to lunch. Conrad just keeps telling me, "You'll get some money from your mother, I'll send for you, and then you'll come back." And I just nod in agreement. Then he takes us to the train station, and I'm so afraid that he might grab one of my boys that I push your brothers on ahead of me and board with you in my arms. Conrad and I wave to each other through the window like in some old movie. A rush of relief runs through my body when I hear the train whistle blow. Conrad is running alongside the train, yelling and waving, "I'll send for you! I'll send for you!" And I just smile and wave back. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye forever.